much for this very warm welcome. I am delighted to be here in this beautiful, vibrant green campus. And green is good. So, my title of the talk is Powering Our Lives Through Evergreen Values. Now, in our Indian culture, the most often blessing that we receive is Ayushman Bhava, and that is, may you live 100 years. Longevity or living long is indeed a virtue or a goal that humanity strives for. And that is something that is very important for all of us. And it is also one of the biggest achievements that science and health has done. Life expectancy in India in 1950 was 35 years, and now it is 70 years, almost doubled. Now, clearly, that is something to be celebrated. And at the age of 60, one can expect to live another 20 years. And if the girls in the audience are not aware, women in general will live 3 to 5 years longer. And if the boys and the men in the audience, I have not configured it yet, they are indeed the stronger gender. So while living long is a goal, there is a bigger virtue that we all strive for, and that is living with. So the idea of living long is of course very welcome, but the idea of living with a purpose is something that we all aspire for. Now, typically this does not crop up in the early years, but when you cross 50, these thoughts start coming to your mind. So why should somebody in the 20s be even thinking about this? So consider this. What if you had a way to look into the future? What if you could fast forward your life and look back? Now, it would be very helpful to have a time machine, but we don't have that, unfortunately. But we have something simple and practical. Seniors who have walked the path ahead of us. I work in the area of aging and development and come across a lot of research that talks about how to live better. So when this question was put to seniors who were in their mid 60s and 70s and asked, what would you have done differently? Now, there are some interesting aspects that come up. They said that first, wish they had been living their more authentic selves, been true to oneself. Second, they wished that they had taken more risks or explored growth outside their comfort zone. And third, they said they wished they had prioritized better or made better choices. Now, in all this, you would find a central thread of living purposefully. As we do our journeys, we will have destinations and we will have different roads and different paths. But there is one aspect that is often lost out, and that is the fellow travelers. We may do the journey, we may focus on the destination in the road, but we often forget the people that we are traveling with. So I would like you to keep that in mind as we move forward. So today, I'm going to talk about three ideas or transformational values. And as you navigate this journey forward, and it is going to be high pitched, high paced, and very complex world that we are living in. But if you have seen the movie Iron Man, you would know that he has this arc reactor, something, as a power source within himself. So I would like you to see not values as something nice, that is, of course, there, but also as a source of power that can power your lives. And here is where I'm taking reference from another transformational change that is within us, and that is open AI. And you know, Chat GPT is the most popular term. So I've called this talk Chat About GPT or Gratitude, Patience, and Time. It will also hopefully make you remember this more often. So if you look at this picture, what comes to your mind? Poverty, neglect, isolation, and of course, inequality. And that is one of the biggest mega trends in our lives. It's also one of the challenges to solve for. But what is it that is behind this picture? Why are there haves and have-nots and the disadvantaged and the advantaged? Now, one of the theories around is
that there is a concept called lottery of births. You may be familiar with it, but it says something very simple, that all the hard work that we do, of course, matters. But what matters more is where you were born. And if that is the central determinant, I would say that all of us have already won this lottery of birth. And because we have won this lottery of birth and we embrace this idea, we can embrace the thought of the attitude of gratitude. And that is something that will allow us to be humble. It will allow us to have this spirit of giving. And it also allow us to have this spirit of service. And this gratitude is also very deeply embedded in our relationship with elders. Parents who are already parents and those who will become one are default designed to be caring, of making sacrifices. And mothers, of course, represent the best form of that. Let me tell you a little story. Nowadays, we see a very disturbing trend of children leaving their parents in senior citizen homes. So there was one such mother who was left in a home by the children. And for a good many years, she lived there. But as she was nearing her end, she called the children and said, "Well, there are some things I would like you to change about the place." She said, "Make the bed better, make the windows a little better, and so on and so forth." The children were shocked. They said, "Mother, why didn't you tell us this earlier?" She said, "No, I don't want to be a trouble. I don't want to be a burden. But when you come and stay in this home, then I don't want to face this discomfort." And that's how mothers are. They're always caring for you, but not telling you. So, unfortunately, while nature has given us a lot of things, but unfortunately, nature has not hard coded gratitude in us. And that is something that is, we take it for granted, we take it sometimes entitled. So, the question before us is, what can we do to keep this attitude of gratitude or this gratitude growing within us? So, I came across this as a practice, as a concept of gratitude as a practice. Now, I'll invite you to do this practice with me for 15 seconds. So, I'll ask all of you to just close your eyes and just for 15 seconds and just think of three things that you're grateful for. So, I will start now. Please close your eyes and just think about three things that you're grateful for. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure you would have some thoughts coming into your mind, some list going in your mind, and possibly parents or family feature in that list. But what happens when we do this as a practice? So I looked up the science of gratitude, the evidence behind gratitude practice, and it says something very interesting, that yes, we observe things around us, but if you actually list the gratitudes or the things that you're grateful for, either you can say it in your mind or you can write it down in a journal, then it has a transformational power. It brings positivity, it brings resilience. And it is somewhat like you gift wrap the package, but you also have to gift it to yourself. I leave this thought with you. So I leave this thought with you that there is immense merit of taking out 5 minutes of your time periodically and counting your five blessings. So the second idea I want you to talk about is something more classic, patience. And you would have heard this very often, that be patient, have patience. But it's not easy. We have these almost weapons of mass delusion and distraction around us. And yes, I am referring it to the social media. And this is something what Blaise Pascal once beautifully said, that all of humanity's problems stems from man's inability to sit quietly in a room. So as a society, we are increasingly becoming impatient, restless, and irritable. In conversations, you would hear this term that the sukoon or the calmness is withering. So is there a merit in rediscovering the value of patience, the value of slowing down, the value of being present? So why is this important? It is core to living life mindfully. It is also something that creates a space between a trigger and a response, and if you may, moving from an autopilot to a manual mode. In our work with elders, we see this happening all around often, and the impatience impacts the lives of elders. And if you reflect it, you will see that happening. Yes, aging does bring some decline, but also it increases many things, it grows many things. So when the speed declines, the wisdom accelerates. And in our conversations with elders, we sometimes see injustice. For example, if some elder wants to learn something and is trying to do so, we may say, "आपसे नहीं होगा, ये आपके बस की बात नहीं है." Or if an elder repeats a question 2 or 3 times, we get very irritated very quickly. And we see this happening in the digital world now in a big way. You have the elders on one side who are, we may call them digitally naive relatively. They are trying to get onto the bandwagon of digital world. And on the other hand, you have the digital natives or the digitally most savvy younger generation. But remember, they both live in the same household. And there is a potential for a huge intergenerational knowledge transfer that could happen, which could fundamentally change how we live. It doesn't happen. And one of the reasons that we have found is that children do have some impatience in them. And so the idea that patience could be a great power source for you, but it also could make the lives of elders better is something that we would like you to consider. The third is the most powerful one because time is powerful, time is money, time is precious, and we are always short of time. But the time for productivity is what has taken our attention the most. We believe in productivity hacks. I myself do practice speed reading. Many of you, I'm sure you watch videos at 2x the speed. We do multitasking, and that's a good thing. But in business and life, we are always trying to maximize efficiency or trying to get the most out of time. But what we don't do, and this is what I want to talk to you about, is time for relationship and connection. And I don't mean the connections that you have on social media, be it in terms of thousands of connections on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. What I mean is the in-person connections that we develop. Now, surprisingly, and it may surprise you, but if there is enough evidence and very comprehensive evidence that all longevity and happiness studies have concluded that it is the social relationships that are the prime determinant of living a happy life. Now, the idea, and some studies have been done on this, which talk about what matters in life. And if you look at the entire list of factors, social relationships and social integration feature in the top two. If you look at the other side, that what is happening in terms of the state of social relationship is another study from Gallup, which talks about that loneliness is the biggest public threat that we have. Now, if you combine both, they are at the odds that this is very important, but we are not investing in this aspect. Now, it affects all generations. You'll be surprised to know that the Gen Z have almost 25% loneliness quotient amongst that. But so do have elders. And when I look at one story which talks about an elderly man at home having two empty cups of tea before him, and somebody asked him that, "Why do you have these tea before you all the time?" He said, "Look, the last time somebody visited me was 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's just a reminder that I am part of the society." During COVID, we did surveys, and 36% of the elders were just waiting for the phone to ring. 20% of the elders in cities now live alone. So when you look at this aspect, you start thinking that how much time do we actually spend face to face in person without TV or a phone around us talking to people? So the aspect that social circle is declining, it's shrinking, is something that we all need to be very conscious of. And possibly the idea that we have to consciously invest in social relationships, build friendships, reach out to people is going to keep us in good stead. So if you look at the three things that I talked about, they're not new, but they are evergreen. And these are the values I would like you to nurture and practice. gratitude for positivity, patience for mindfulness, and time for relationship. Make these, what I may say, values in practice or VIPs in your life. They could be the guiding principles for success as you move forward. And these are not just concepts, but they directly can give you the power to live a purposeful life. They can actually be the cornerstones of your success as you look at making new beginnings and new successes. So I wish you the very best. Keep shining, rising, and smiling. All the very best to you. Thank you.